I developed this gift where I could step up to the plate, hit the ball out of the park. Every time I would do it, but I had no idea how I'm doing it. So I had to trust this in order to step into a reality where I could bring incredible healing to so many lives.
Welcome to the Shine Strategy Podcast, where entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business owners are getting visible and changing the world. I'm your host, Heather Burgett, an award-winning publicist, entrepreneur, and business mentor. Today's show is sponsored by PR Stars. For more inspiration and Shine strategies, head over to shineinsiders.com now for my free masterclass so that you too can get visible and go from local to global. Hey, Shine Insiders. Thank you so much for being here today, and thanks for listening to the show. We've been working so hard, pouring our heart and soul into these episodes, and I really hope that you're enjoying them. And we've got another great one coming up for you today. But before we get into that, I just want to quickly address something, because I see so many of you out there hustling, spinning your wheels, and just getting really frustrated with trying to get yourselves out there and reach your audience. And I'm taking a stand for you. I am here to pull back the curtain, share what I know about getting visible and impacting a global audience so that your customers can come to you, they can find you and come to you pre-sold for whatever it is you're putting out into the world. And we do that through publicity. So I'm opening my PR Stars Inner Circle for enrollment. If you think it's something that you might want to check out, I want you to head over to prstars.net and go to the PR Stars Inner Circle program and apply there. Now, you might be wondering, is it for me? You're not sure. If you are a small business owner, if you have a product, a service, a message, a movement, something you're putting out into the world, a nonprofit, yes, it is time. Yesterday was the time to be thinking about your PR. A lot of this is about releasing the past and illuminating your story. If you're a heart-centered business owner or creative who really wants to confidently make the world a better place with what you're doing, then you are in the right spot. You probably want to serve more people with your special gifts. You know you have a true calling, but you still feel like you're playing a little small. You really do want to make the world a better place, and you crave global awareness, and you know your business deserves it. And you might have thought at some point or another, free advertising NPR sounds like a good plan. So I'm here to show you how it's done, to help you, to support you, to help you go from unknown to known. And, you know, if any of this is resonating with you at all, please go over to prstars.net and just check out the Inner Circle. See what's there for you, what's available, the support, the resources. If you want to get to know me a little better and work with me personally, that is a place to go and do that. So again, prstars.net, and I look forward to seeing you over there. In the meantime, we're going to dig into this amazing episode today, so here we go. Hey, Shine Insiders. Thank you so much for being here today. I am really excited about today's guest. I have been wanting him to come and speak with you for quite a long time. He's finally here, and I want to tell you a little bit about Matt Kahn. He's the author of the best-selling books, Whatever Arises, Love That, and Everything is Here to Help You. He's a spiritual teacher and highly attuned empathic healer who's become a YouTube sensation with his healing and often humorous videos with over 14 million YouTube channel viewers. And they're finding the support they seek to feel more loved, awakened, and open to the greatest possibilities in life through the invitation to join the love revolution that begins with you. Matt, thank you so much for being here today. We're so lucky to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. It's truly an honor to be here with you. I'm blessed to be here.
And we're so excited to have you speak to us today. If there's one thing we could really dig into, I would want that to be, I think what could help my listeners the most would be addressing the issues of fear, imposter syndrome, all the limiting beliefs and self-doubts that come up when people are putting themselves into the spotlight. And before we get into that, I want you to tell a little bit about your journey and your history into this work that you're doing so people can understand what it is exactly that you do and how this works.
Absolutely. You know, it's a very mysterious and magical journey. And for most of my life, and for most people listening on this call, we are empaths. And if we've never heard that word, I can kind of explain how I discovered what being an empath means. So when I was a kid, I had this experience where I could feel the feelings of other people, and I couldn't separate my feelings from other people's feelings. And so if I was around friends that were having conflicts with their family, had negative opinions about the rules of their household, I would feel that in their body, and I would think that that was their negative impression of me. And so then I spent a lot of time trying to cheer up a lot of my friends, thinking only when they're happy do they have a positive opinion about me. And of course, that's a very codependent way of living, but it was my way of slowly starting to understand my gifts intuitively as an empath. So as an empath, when I'm working with people on stage at my events or on calls, I'm using my emotional body to guide me through the stored, trapped emotions, the traumas, the negative limiting beliefs that I use like a blueprint, and then utilize my healing abilities to help people clear and to experience a profoundly different reality. Just like there are intuitives that hear. I'm an intuitive. I also hear, but I feel. And so I hear with my feelings. And so if I just feel into someone when I'm working, I get a lot of very clear information. So I use this to help people discover emotional freedom, to move rapidly through the awakening process, to integrate their ego, and to really live not just as liberated conscious beings, but as heart-centered beings that are ushering into this planet a brand new, loving humanity.
It's so beautiful. Now, this started for you when you were only, 8 years old?
Yes.
And what happened when you were 8?
When I was 8, this is a different side of the story, but when I was 8, I had a very profound, vivid experience where I was dreaming one night and I found myself in a garden that was unfamiliar. And what's interesting about that is as a kid, I grew up in the 80s during the Adam Walsh case, which was about, don't talk to strangers because you could be abducted. That was really big in the 80s. So as a kid, I was really afraid of never being away from my parents. And so when I was in this garden and I said to myself, the first thing I said is, I don't know where I am, but I'm okay. And I felt a love carry me in this garden that is unlike any love I'd ever felt. I'm walking through this garden through a field of waist-high flowers now. As an 8-year-old, I can kind of feel my body pushing through this thick brush of waist-high flowers. And I also notice I'm hovering above it simultaneously. I couldn't explain it, but the love was so intense it didn't even really matter. And about 20 feet in front of me was a celestial being, illuminated in this white light, dark hair, dark beard, white robe, very atypical, very generic of biblical. And this being motioned me towards him, and I didn't move. I froze, and then I started floating towards this being. And as I got this close to the being, there was just pure white in the eyes. And I remember as a kid thinking of like scary movies where people would roll their eyes up into their head. I don't know why I thought that, but it broke the state. And I fell through the garden, through the sky, and back in my body. And only when I fell back in my body did I realize I left it. And then out of the corner of in my peripheral vision, in my doorway, I saw the same figure motioning me towards me in this like white energy. And as I looked directly at the being disappeared. And then the next day, went to my friend's house. And in their living room, they had a painting of Jesus. I said, "Who is that?" He said, "That's Jesus." I was raised Jewish. I didn't really know Jesus. "That's Jesus." And I go, "Well, I don't know who he is, but that's who I met in my dream last night." And then everyone freaks out because it's against the rules to meet Jesus in your dream, apparently. And I just had this knowing. And I began at that age spontaneously knowing things without knowing why I knew it. And it didn't even matter. It just was like it beyond anything. It's just a knowing. It's kind of like, I know I'm going to go to this restaurant and I know exactly what I'm going to order no matter what the special of the day is. You just know. And so from a very young age, I started knowing things. Now, my guides didn't start speaking to me until I was about like 18 or 19 years old. They started talking to me. And because they always carried the vibration of love from the garden I experienced, I always trusted it. And then eventually they led me to, "Hey, there's a random person. Why don't you go deliver a message to them in the grocery store?" And so I had to like walk up to someone. And if I did, I felt like my heart was going to explode. I had to say, "Look, I know we're in the produce aisle. You don't know me, I don't know you, but I got to tell you something." And I would tell them the message and they would explode into healing. And so it was kind of like I developed this gift where I could step up to the plate, hit the ball out of the park. every time I would do it, but I have no idea how I'm doing it. So I had to trust this in order to step into a reality where I can bring incredible healing to so many lives.
Wow, it's so incredible. And, we go back, I think we were deciding the other day, it's been at least like 2 decades. And so this was kind of earlier on in your journey. So how would you say that your intuitive gifts or your abilities or just the whole path that you've been on, how has that evolved over the last 20 years?
It's funny. The last 20 years has been a huge crash course, a huge acceleration. I would actually say it's almost been like a master's or a PhD program where over the last 20 years, my intuition has really refined and matured. And I think what's interesting is that all of us have intuition. We all have impressions. But I think the maturity is the wisdom that is interpreting the impression. For example, there are some people when they begin their intuitive career, I don't want to take us too far off what we were going to talk about, but there are some people who intuitively open up and they can see guides with people, and they also see dark things that they call entities. And I had a very interesting experience with someone who came up to me as an intuitive at one of my events and said, Matt, I got to tell you, you have entities, and I kind of smiled and I went, well, that sounds cool. And I was joking with them. And what I helped them understand is that when your third eye first opens to a dimension you have no history with, what you see as darkened images seem like dark, scary things because we often have a subconscious association with darkness. And we are the light opposing the dark. In reality, we are the light that is empathing the fear darkness has of our light, because the closest darkness gets to light, the more it integrates back to source, which is what it is the completion of the journey, but it thinks it's going to be destroyed, not liberated. So the misunderstanding, for example, is like someone who opens up their intuition is going to see all these dark things and thinks, I got to clear all these things out of people. And in the beginning of my career, I did this kind of superstitious work. And what I realized is as I became more in tune with the dimension of psychic awareness, I started to actually see that the darkness is not something lacking in another person. It was just my unknown association to what I was perceiving. And so as we mature in consciousness, we become more refined, and more refinement means less superstitions, means less of a battle between light and dark, knowing that darkness wants nothing to do with the light. And the way in which we hide from our light is by fearing the dark.
And I love what you just said about the darkness being liberated versus destroyed. And so I think, this is a good segue into talking about the fear and that darkness. And I always say that your ego is always going to try to sabotage you, keep you playing small. When you're trying to step into the spotlight, all sorts of things come up for people, putting themselves in the front of their business, the fears, limiting beliefs, self-doubts, negative self-talk. Can you speak to that? Because really putting ourselves in the spotlight is that shining, is that lightness that we all can experience.
And I love the idea of the spotlight being the metaphor for the reclaiming and demonstration of our power. And so when we have our ego trying to sabotage or do all these things, and it's easy to look at the ego and say, you're the evil character preventing me from stepping into my power and all that stuff. But the reality is, and if we can think of it from a very heart-centered, loving space, and I understand empathically that when we're going through dark night of the soul and some really deep levels of anxiety, it's hard to see from this kind of perspective, which is why the energy within me is transmitting this, not just speaking it. But when our ego is trying to sabotage it, is basically saying, I feel too unsafe to allow you to step forward. So the question becomes, what brings safety to the ego to help give it permission to let go of its grip of you so you can shine at full capacity? And of course, what we learn in the new paradigm is as much as we're annoyed by our ego and frustrated by our ego, like a mother is overwhelmed by the energy and the demands of a child, and she never gets a moment break. In the same way, we learn to love our egos, and instead of seeing the ego in the way, we see that the ego blocking us is just a part of us that needs more unconditional love. And it is the unconditional love that we offer our egos, that we offer our limiting beliefs, that we offer to whatever reaction, distortion, or trigger that arises that fills us with the vibration of unconditional love that is also preparing us with the highest vibration to shine on stage in our power and to do it in the most conscious way. And as an easy exercise, just for everyone who's listening, what if when your ego tries to interfere, right? Because I teach I love you, but sometimes I love you is a sticky word in a sentence, and some people it's too soon for that. So what if as an entry point into loving our egos instead of fighting our egos, you said to your ego, thank you for trying to protect me. And we actually gave credit to the ego for what it's attempting to do, even though what it actually is doing is more in the way than protecting. But if we allow the most useful, positive aspect of our ego to be embraced, the consciousness residing in the ego starts to wake up and the power of sabotage starts to disappear. So it's interesting how we can actually deconstruct the sabotage within us by honoring it for its deepest purpose, which helps it let go and gives it the safety that allows you to shine.
Wow. And that's such an amazing tip and tactic for just tackling, when that comes up, because I think the instinct for most people is to fight their ego. Right. And it's like, I think everything you're teaching is all about the wholeness of love and integrating ourselves fully with love, unconditional love. And that means loving our ego and appreciating it. And, if we didn't have our egos, we wouldn't be human beings. So we are indebted to them for helping us be a full human being. So I love that. I love that. Just gratitude, always coming back to the gratitude and appreciation and love. And you're doing your love revolution. Can you tell us about what that is, what that means?
Yeah, so I call it the Love Revolution. It's basically my global community of heart-centered beings. It's a safe haven for energetically sensitive souls and people that just want to connect spiritually through the mutual enjoyment of my teachings. My teachings are very loving. I'm also very funny a lot of times in my YouTube videos. And so the Love Revolution is what I call the global movement of beings that are here to improve themselves, to step into their potential, to participate in ushering in a new paradigm of conscious civilization. But we are doing it through the frequency of love. We're not going to need to fight the untruths of a political scene. We're not needing to have the exposure of some secret thing that we all know is happening. Because the reality is as we all become more loving in ourselves, we start to change the vibration of the world around us. And as we change the vibration of the world around us, the things that used to coerce and control start to disappear. And the things we need to move this earth into a new chapter of rebirth, which means the rebirth of our ecosystem, the rebirth of our political system, more equality in our social economic systems. In order to have this kind of heaven on earth, we have to work from the inside out. And there are some people that go, how can I stop and love myself when all these things are happening? But we have to understand the movement of consciousness is from the inside out. And if we take time to make peace with our ego, we have a greater likelihood of attracting the kind of people in our lives that begin to honor us the way we've taken time to honor ourselves. And it just ripples out from there.
That's beautiful. And I love that it's all about transformation through high vibrations and higher consciousness. And I think that's some of our greatest spiritual leaders over the years have taken that path, from Gandhi to MLK Jr. And there is this whole concept around that our planet is going through an evolution. Human consciousness is rising. And, a lot of people call this, transformation or change in our times, like ascension. So can you speak a little bit to that? Because I feel like not everybody really understands what this is. Is it a spiritual thing? Is it a scientific thing? Like what's happening on the planet?
What is happening? What is happening?
Give us the answer, Matt.
I'll tell you what the thing is. The thing is, man, I was about to make a joke. I was about to say the epidemic is that there's CBD and sriracha and everything.
Blame it on the CBD and the sriracha.
Can you tone that down a little bit? Like, obviously, God is very proud of CBD and sriracha. It's everywhere. And by the way, let me just say this. When you and I grew up, Heather, We would go to stores. There was no such thing as kale. Then one day a UFO dropped kale off, and kale's chilling in the store, acting like it's been here all along.
Everywhere.
When did that show up? That's a mystery, but the ascension. So awakening. Awakening is when a new operating system is activated in human consciousness. It is where instead of a human being have to use their mind and their beliefs to navigate choices, they follow the inspiration of their heart's deepest wisdom. Instead of having competition to motivate our best out of us, we come together in cooperation to bring all of our talents together for the greater good of a higher purpose. So in awakening, we are moving out of the operating system of mind-based understanding and into the inspiration and cooperation and unity of heart-centered consciousness. That's what happens in an individual. Now, when this awakening is happening on a global scale, that global awakening we call the ascension. So the ascension is where a large percentage of humanity is being moved into a heart space. And the journey is learning that my comfort zone is trusting this, where I know what's black and white, right and wrong, and I have to move into a heart where I just know what's true for me. And because that's a space most people touch but don't live in, there comes anxiety, insecurity, and doubt. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to miss out on things? The fear of missing out, the big thing, right? Oh my God, will there still be kale and sriracha and CBD when I wake up? All these things, That's basically just the insecurity of not knowing how to rely on the wisdom of your heart. And as we really settle into this and what it requires for the journey, because it sounds simple, but it's actually a very intricate journey, is we have to make peace with the unresolved pain in our heart. We have to face and integrate the traumas that we carry. And as we learn to have trust in our hearts, we look back and we say, I thought once that how am I going to live in my heart all the time? And the reality is, how did I survive not living in my heart? So what we find in this ascension or this awakening process is that this is really not just where human beings learn to touch into love for half a second, like after 9/11, tragically 9/11. For a couple days, the aftermath was the world was united as one. And so really what's happening on this ascension is we're not requiring life to constantly bombard us with gross negativity in order to bring the opposite joy out of us for a split second. And instead, we're learning to live in that frequency so we don't need to call on darkness in order for our light to shine in opposition.
Oh, thank goodness. So this is really good news.
But the shift from one to the other, like the big shift, is looking wacky.
Yeah, well, there's so many things that come up and happen through these transitions, and it's not that we're not going to still have crazy things happening on the planet, I don't think, but maybe they will become less over time, is what it sounds like you're saying.
I think what's going to happen is that you're going to see people having to face their own imbalances instead of hide from their imbalances by projecting them onto others or suppressing people, neighborhoods, countries, continents, and civilizations. A lot of people who wield a lot of power in this world have a lot of unprocessed pain and are leading quite unconsciously. And for a long time, because the earth was still in mind-based consciousness and not heart-based consciousness, people could act out their pain and not become aware of how they were hurting other people. We are quickly getting to a level of global accountability where people will be unable to hurt other people without feeling what the damage is. And we will soon get to a place, and soon being like in the next so many years, we will evolve to a species to where people who are in the most pain will be trapped in those very processes until they face it. So the hell will be their own personal hell until they learn to face it, kind of like someone who has to accept sobriety and come out of addiction. But it will not be able to be used as a mechanism to suppress communities and countries and a world at large. So this is where every person learns to become responsible for their own experience. And as we learn to love ourselves more, not less, we actually gain the wisdom and the maturity to step out of the healing vicious cycle and to start shining our light so that other people can heal faster, so that the heaven on earth we're always meant to create can come to be.
So it sounds like as a whole, we're elevating and rising together, yet internally we're still going to, each be having to go, through whatever it is that we need to go through for our own soul's journey. Would you say that's
100%. And that's why I also really, as a person in this world, I see things like the Me Too movement and all these things that I tremendously support. The courage it takes for a human being to say, wow, I was born a man and I really feel connected to the opposite gender. And I'm going to express myself the way it's true for me. I think all of these things are really incredible signs that our inner hidden experience is coming out to be expressed. The pain that other people have caused others is coming out to be faced. People are having to answer for the crimes that they committed so many years ago. And I actually think it's just a way in which the divine feminine energy is having the voice to speak its pain and bring accountability to the unconscious masculine. And as the masculine and feminine start to heal the wounding on both sides, the masculine and feminine in every individual balances in polarity, which then allows us to attract relationships that inspire and uplift us instead of just bringing about and reminding us of the pain that we're hiding from.
Amazing. Now, you have a lot of ways where you guide and help people through this stuff, because I'm sure everyone's sitting here going, wait, we need more. We need to understand more. We need more of Matt. We want more guidance, probably hoping to even work further with you on some of their own things that maybe are coming up just through this conversation. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the different ways that you support people in this journey.
Well, I used to do individual sessions, and I developed a process with the universe where I could meet a group of people, often hundreds of people, and I energetically work. I'm on stage, and I work with the group as if it's one. And so it's like every person in my audience feels like I'm speaking directly to them, and I'm actually doing like healing work on hundreds simultaneously. And so my in-person events, which have a very palpable, just like this conversation, have a very palpable sacred energy that just, even as I talk, healing is occurring spontaneously. People often love coming to my live events. If they can't come in person, they attend via live streaming, and I am always posting videos on YouTube. There are so many opportunities I'm creating because right now the world is waking up. The world is hungry for clarity and direction. And I have been called to step forward to be a way shower, to be a guide, and to be a healer and an activator and an integrator. And so for all of those who are called to really heal and step into the frequency of love and really come into the highest potential of their being, I just invite everyone to visit me at mattkahn.org and join me at one of my events, check out one of my videos, and sign up for my free newsletter. And it's just really about being a part of this global community where our action to everything is loving instead of fighting negativity with the same negativity, but with a more positive justification. So this is just an invitation for everyone to join me in creating a more loving reality.
It's amazing. And I love the calls that you were doing where it always felt like it was right on time, because you have such an incredible way of tapping into like current events as well. Like what's happening on the planet, like why is it happening, and how to process it and deal with it and get through it with your sanity. And so thank you for that. It's definitely come right on time for me on many an occasion. You have your speaking on stages, you have your books.
My God. I have written 2 books. My third one comes next year. Isn't that funny? I have a card deck coming out. My card deck and my new book is, my second book is through Hay House. And every month I do these free calls called Project Resolution, where I guide people in meditations to help heal our planet with love and kindness. And there's so many, Angel Academy, there's so many things I'm doing. And so that's why I always tell people, go to mattkahn.org and just feel into your heart and see which things you get a yes on. And those are the things that are needed right now to really shift your life now, not later. Like this isn't about when I do all this spiritual stuff, one day I'm going to feel this. The kind of healing I like to do is let's get there now. And what do I need to do as a healer when I'm meeting with someone to tune in, to shift that and get them from where they're at to where they want to be now? If I'm going to be useful to anyone, I need to do the kind of healing work that is literally hard to even conceive, because that's what we all need right now. And so I just say it's truly an honor to be able to hold that space and to do things that come through me that even I sit back and go, oh my God, thank you, God, for letting me witness this miracle. And it's truly my life desire. When I was like 10 years old, I said to God, I just want to sit front row for your miracles and watch you do your work. And I didn't realize that my front row seat was going to be on stage. And I literally am living out that deepest desire.
Wow. And you're so good at it. You have such a true talent and gift for it. I mean, ever since I met you, I always was like, I knew you were going to go far. I'm like, wow, this guy, I mean, I know a lot of intuitives and healing, arts kind of people in that realm. And I could see it in you that it was a very, very special gift. So thank you for sharing it with the world. And I hope you all will go and check out Matt's website. It's mattkahn.org, Kahn, and check out his books. And when is the next one dropping?
Next one's dropping. My album drops March 24th, I believe, of 2020. It's called The Universe Always Has a Plan, and it's outlining what I call the 10 gold rules of letting go. It is the 10 new paradigm principles of the universe, and it helps you to navigate your soul's journey without using life against yourself. And it's one of the most, in this book, I go where I've never gone before. It's the most personal sharing. It's the deepest dive, and it's like, he just said that over and over again. It's just like one big mic drop. I love it.
Ooh, I can't wait. We got to wait a few months, but it's coming soon. So, but you do have 2 out now people can get a hold of. And where do you hang out on? Do people find you on social media pretty easily, or?
Yeah, I post on Instagram and Twitter, memes and stuff, but I'm active on Facebook. I post every day personally on Facebook, teachings, and I do, next year, every other month, I'm going to be doing Facebook Live. So if you look me up under my public figure page, Matt Kahn, I'm always posting on social media because I'm just trying to put the consciousness out to the world. So in between events and in between this and that, I'm just posting and putting out just what is helping this world to wake up and to crack our hearts wide open. So yeah, I'm on Facebook and I post there personally. And of all the social medias, it's the one thing I actually enjoy.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today, Matt. We so appreciate you, your heart, your wisdom, your sharing your genius zone with us, your humor, and just bringing the light to everyone in the world. And we hope to continue with you on your journey. We hope you'll come back and keep us posted on how things are going. And any last thoughts for our listeners today?
Just know that no matter how things look in your life, it is not a belief, but it is actually a rule of the universe, a rule of existence that everything always has to get better. And so no matter where things are at right now, things have to get better. And it's not just better because of what you're trying to control and assert, but it's better because that's just the movement of life and its constant field of expansion. So of course we want to do the right thing. We want to make courageous choices, but let's not put so much pressure on our shoulders where we're actually psyching ourselves out and blocking ourselves from the joy that is here guiding us forward.
Beautiful. You heard it here, everyone. Matt Kahn, thank you so much for being here. And we wish you the best of luck on your journey and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today for the Shine Strategy Podcast. I invite you to join me at shineinsiders.com for a free masterclass where you can get more inspiration and strategies to get visible and change the world. Your voice matters. Please subscribe, rate, and share this show so we can continue to grow on this journey together. Until the next one, it's Heather Burgett, your Shine Strategist, signing off.